All right, I've got 6:31, so we'll go ahead and call to order this meeting, this June 28th meeting of the Merrimack Conservation Commission. Call to order at 6:31. I don't see any public here for public comments. We don't have any public hearings. No public announcements, so we'll jump right into statutory advisory business. The first item we have is Thomas More College, the applicant, and the Thomas More Foundation owners' review of recommendations to the planning board of a site plan amendment to improve parking and pedestrian walkways within the campgrounds, or the campus grounds. The parcel is located at 6 Manchester Street in the I-1 Industrial and Aquifer Conservation District, tax map 2D, lot 041-04. And with us, if you would, just, if you haven't already, put your information on the sign-in sheet and just tell us who you are and introduce us to your proposal.
Yeah, to put it on. Yeah,
Yep.
I realized that the non-light meant it was off. Austin Turner with Bowler here this evening representing the college. And I'm going to walk you through. I think that's on. I can't.
Maybe turn off some lights.
Yeah.
Thank you, Justin.
There we go. Whoa, that's not what I wanted to do. All right. All right.
And
So-
before you get started, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Mike, would you sit in as a voting member?
Yes.
For Mike Boisvert? And Ellen, could you sit in as a voting member also?
I am going to recuse myself from discussion regarding Thomas More College.
Okay. All right, we're ready when you are.
All right. So I am here on behalf of the college. What we're contemplating, the college has been working on this for quite some time. We have been working with them pretty closely, as I can't find the cursor, there it is, on some future master planning efforts for campus improvement. What you see on the screen here in blue, and I'll walk you around because not everything is part of this immediate proposal, but there's kind of a phased master plan that we're working on with them. They've got some plans to improve their campus and with probably a nominal increase in enrollment, but not a substantial, more improvements to the students who are there actively. So what it includes, the buildings in blue, and if you look in the upper left, I'm going to kind of start at the 11 o'clock position. That's going to be a new women's dormitory building. And the men's dormitory will become, the dormitory that's there today will become exclusively a men's dormitory, and they'll construct a new women's dorm building. As you kind of work around, you'll see here, I'm trying to, there we go. The administration building is going to remain, but that parking lot that's in front of it, kind of at 12 o'clock position, that's part of what they're talking about doing right now. And that's going to be some of the enabling work that I'm be discussing with you this evening. Going around to about 1 o'clock, it's an expansion on the existing library, as well as a surface parking lot. That's really, these parking areas are kind of where they're parking vehicles today. It's kind of beat up dirt, and it gets kind of muddy in the springtime or what have you, and they want to improve that and kind of formalize it. Also improve the accessibility there. Really, it's not really an accessible area. There's a chapel building down at that 4 o'clock position. That's, oddly enough, was approved by the planning board back in 2008 and never got constructed. And so we're revisiting that whole concept as part of this application. And then an expansion on the dining commons, which is about the 6 o'clock position. Those are all going to be phased in. What we're talking about this evening, if you can see that kind of center courtyard there, that's the pedestrian improvements that we're talking about. So the intent here is to kind of improve the center courtyard, add some amenities, more connectivity amongst the existing and proposed buildings, and then formalize the parking. And with that comes some tuning up to the access configuration. So the access driveways, and you kind of see this little cursor. I wish there was like the hand thing, but if you can kind of see where I'm moving around right there, right about 12, that's an existing full access driveway right now. By that I mean you can come in and out of there. We're converting that to an exit-only driveway. So you'll have, this driveway will come out this way. This driveway, kind of at that 12:30, 1 o'clock position, is currently an in-only, which we're converting to full access. And we've been working with the fire department on the driveway configurations and the geometry and the width to make sure that they can still get emergency response vehicles in there. This parking area here, located in front of the administration building, is a formalization of their current kind of dirt parking. We've got a handful of spaces in there, about a dozen or so spaces. And then over by the library at roughly 1 or 2 o'clock, that's a surface parking lot. And then up here in front, kind of between the Guild Hall and the dining commons, is another surface parking lot. So with that comes some stormwater improvements and what have you that are part of this application. So there's not really.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Yep.
So for right now, so those 3 parking lots exist, but they're not paved?
They're very informal kind of dirt.
Okay, so, but they exist, but they're just not paved?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. It's just a big,
Yep.
expansive, kind of, you can tell vehicles parked there because the grass doesn't grow and it's all dirt now. So there's some parking in the interior of the campus, kind of where the courtyard is. That's going away. We don't want to have that interior of the campus, this kind of bucolic New England setting, be a dirt parking lot. So we're kind of pushing them out to the perimeter and kind of isolating them in between everything else, then improving the pedestrian connectivity in there. So I'll give you a sense of kind of, let's see. This is just some photos, just to give you some context as to how things look. You can see some of the parking lots and how they look right now. So like the rear of the library, this kind of bottom middle picture, it's a little bit washed out with the lighting, but that's what the parking looks like today. The existing student parking, that middle right photo, that's a lot that we're going to improve and kind of consolidate. And then you can kind of get a feel for how the campus wants to look and feel as well. And then in the kind of the future condition, the architect put together a number of renderings to help visualize the campus here a little bit. Zoom out, touch. This just gives you a feel, architecture, look and feel. We're going to center of the campus, you'll see coming up. So this college quad, that upper left, that's what they're contemplating the appearance, kind of taking out that dirt parking lot. And I can bring up an aerial too and show you how things look right now. So we've had we've had one hearing with the planning board, which we had a couple weeks ago. It went well, and we just received our peer review also, which had limited comments, kind of highly technical comments on some stormwater items that we're going to talk about, but nothing of major significance, and the board felt reasonably confident that we were in a pretty reasonable position for the July 20th hearing. This is just an aerial overlay, and what we're showing here, these are kind of the improvements. These parking improvements are really, everything that's kind of bolded, if you will, is what we're talking about including here as part of this initial program. So you can see the parking lot down here in the lower left corner. You can see where it's essentially on the that dirt parking lot. You can see the center courtyard here. This is all parking today, which we're gonna landscape, make it lawn area. And then this area in here, it looks a little bit vegetated, but behind this administration building is being used for parking as well, just not frequently by students. And over here behind, it's hard to see with this cursor, but if you look in the 2 o'clock position, that's kind of a scrubbed out, sort of dirt, sort of like weedy vegetation, low level ground stuff that's used for parking as well. In fact, when we were out there with the fire department, that's where we ended up parking to do the site walk. What we're contemplating here too is a couple stormwater basins, and I really wish this cursor would show up, but in front of the dining common, you can see it kind of looks like a little oval or circle shape on about the 6 o'clock position, maybe 6:30 position. There's a stormwater basin there. And then kind of in the back on the far center left, there's a new stormwater basin that we're putting in there. And then in the top, maybe about 12:30, there's a little small oval stormwater basin in there as well. What we're doing, we're trying to maintain kind of the rural feel, so we're not really using a closed drainage system. We've created these shallow meandering swales along the outside of the parking edges to get surface runoff to kind of work their way through the basins and then follow the natural drainage patterns of the property. That's the high-level overview, and I'm happy to get granular or into any questions that the commission may have.
So, did you say that you're going before the planning board again July 20th?
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
we have a meeting with them on July 20th. We've already had one hearing with them. We received the peer review on Friday last week, and we intend to respond to that within a week or so.
Okay.
Some minor technical items in there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
In that 4 to 5 o'clock position, what is that, what are those, I know they're kind of hidden lines there, they're not bolded, but.
Oh, it's like an existing trail network that just kind of meanders through the woods. It's used by the college campus. It's just there. We don't intend to displace it. You're talking about these very light, faint
Yes.
jigsaw lines, right? Yeah, there's an existing trail network that is kind of formed through the woods over the years.
In the highlighted walking paths, how wide are they? It looks like they vary a little bit, but
They
what's-
do a little bit, yeah. I'm going to open up the site plan and see if we actually dimension those. I think they're variable, but intended to be wide enough to kind of people walking back and forth, maybe 8 feet wide. Let's see. Yeah, so they vary, but between 5 and 8 feet. We have the primary walking paths are about 5 feet wide. And some others, as they get kind of the courtyard in the middle, maybe expand out to 8.
Did you say they were designed to allow emergency vehicle access?
We don't intend to have the emergency vehicles in the interior of the property. What we did, we worked very closely with Captain Manueli and his team to design these parking improvements and kind of that access to accommodate emergency response vehicles. That's why you'll see, for example, right here, this little tail on the parking lot. They asked that we have this little tail for emergency response, either do a turnaround or get closer to the dining common building. So we added that. This little kind of gravel apron in here, they asked for a little bit wider egress point onto Manchester Street, just to allow the swing of the vehicle. We didn't want that to be asphalt, so it's still got some structural ability. If they have to put the pads out for the pump truck or something, it can accommodate it. But we didn't want it to be an 18-foot wide asphalt driveway. So we put in about a 6-foot gravel shoulder on that. And, the phased-in improvements too, when the new dorm comes in, there's a couple of additional emergency response items that they ask for. Circulation around this new women's dormitory building will be right about in here. They asked for a driveway in behind that, which we'll provide. We're not going to go build it right now if the dorm's, some years out. So we kind of did our phased approach. And we looked at the entire master plan with the fire department.
So I have a couple of questions, just because I showed up early thinking we were going to have packets, and we don't have packets, so I
Sure.
did not read as closely. I did notice that you have straw bales instead of hay, which is great. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I did not notice what you normally do for snow removal. Do you have a Green Snow Pro certified professional?
I'm not sure. I can ask the college how they're handling their current snow removal operations. I know there's been a big push at the state level, particularly with the alteration of terrain permits for those. But I can ask them and see if they can revisit that as part of their operations program.
Okay, that is something we recommend. The other thing is, I also didn't notice if you had plans to use any fertilizer?
I don't think they do a lot of the fertilization area. I think they like to keep it as natural as possible.
Okay.
Obviously, it'll be maintained. The lawn areas will be maintained, but at least I didn't see any evidence of fertilizer out there. In fact, we were in the equipment shed and I didn't see a lot of fertilizer product.
Okay. The only reason I ask is because you're in the aquifer district, so
Yeah.
you'd want to make sure that you're using low phosphate, slow release nitrogen fertilizer.
Okay, so far I'm gonna tell them green snow. I'm not questioning, I'm just making sure I capture it.
We'll put it in the letter to the planning board.
Perfect. Okay,
And
I'll
the
make a note
only-
too.
Yeah, the only other thing is if you're planting anything, you just want to, and you already know this, to plant non-invasive
It's a
plants.
shame, because we had bamboo on the list. Is it okay? I don't have bamboo, for the record. I do not have bamboo.
Just some
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Is there any laydown space at all for snow storage?
Yeah, I mean, so there certainly is next to, immediately adjacent to these parking areas, particularly on the back side of the parking areas. There's snow, the grading, we can bring it to the grading plan. show you what the contouring looks like. So there's kind of these leveled areas right next to the, these swales with the big flat areas that we could easily accommodate snow removal without putting it in the basin, obviously. Those parking areas, and then similarly, I really got to find that magic little panhand thing for this, so it doesn't do that. And then similarly, it's a little bit of a sloped area here, but it's kind of how they're accommodating snow removal today, is kind of pushing it off to the side right there, and this large flat spot over in here. And if you go to this parking lot, similar fashion, we can accommodate snow removal. There's this wide area in here that we could easily accommodate snow removal, and next to the driveways.
And you've been through a rainwater assessment, you've got the runoff calcs?
Yes, sir. We included a drainage report as part of the filings. It's been reviewed by the town's peer reviewer, Fuss and O'Neill and CLD. And they provided us some limited comments. They had a couple comments on seeing if we could expand the footprint of some of the basins just nominally to get a little bit more extra freeboard in the basin, which we're happy to do. And we're in the process of responding to those right now.
Okay. And those are going up back to the planning board?
Correct.
So
Yep.
are you going back in front of the planning board again?
Yes, sir. We have our second hearing is scheduled with the planning board on July 20th.
Okay. And those calcs, all that stuff will be in that second?
They were with the original package.
Okay.
We'll be refining them a little bit based on the peer review, but they were included as part of the original. And if the commission would like me to provide copies of those directly, I'd be happy to.
I was not able to get a packet. I don't know if anyone, if they're in the packet.
There are not. And that with the drain water review wasn't part of what we got.
Well, yeah, so we got intermittent emails because when Rhonda sent it out, the whole package was like 400 megabytes or
Right.
something, and it didn't go through to everyone's email system. So I got it on one device, but not on the other. But essentially, it looks like the 10-year, 25, and 50-year at your points are all post. They're all below what they were pre, so the water's being contained and not running off.
Yep.
One of them is only slightly better, but the other one is markedly better, so.
Yeah, we tried to,
Yeah.
you're right. I'm happy somebody read the report because
Yeah.
not here in the commission, but it's frequent. I can't tell you, sometimes only peer reviewers, not in
Yeah.
town, but they're the only people who read the report. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, I get to be an engineering nerd for a minute. So we did design that. We tried to mimic the hydrology the best we could. So I didn't want to really substantially reduce peaks, and we're putting water back in the ground too with those series of infiltration basins. The hydrology out here generally goes from plan right to plan, or plan left to plan right. So we tried to kind of mirror that and use some of the natural drainage courses to get the water to continue to go where it's going, so. The college didn't want me to putting in big manholes and pipes and all kinds of engineering marvels. They want to maintain that rural feel.
Yeah, we just want to keep the water on the property as much and then let it drain through.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yep. And that's what we tried to accomplish here, doing swales and some of the basins and keeping it vegetated.
Yep.
Anyone else? No? Well, thank you for coming. I think you've answered all our questions. We'll
Great.
go ahead and send these few notes back to the planning board sometime this week.
Okay. Customarily, how long do you think that is? I want to make sure I have an opportunity to, if there's any comments or questions, or I
Yeah,
can respond.
we'll have them by Thursday.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Oh, all
probably
right.
by
That's
tomorrow.
substantially faster than so.
Mm.
Well, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Oh, you're welcome. Just gonna eject my drive here. Eject. There we go. All right. Have a good evening.
Thanks. Next item we had for statutory advisory business is John Flatley Company, applicant owner, review for recommendation to the planning board for a site plan to construct a 120,000 square foot warehouse / distribution building per the requirements of the Flatley Mixed Use Conditional Use Permit. The parcel is located at 707 Daniel Webster Highway in the I-1 Industrial District Aquifer Conservation Area, tax map 6E, lot 003-06. with us tonight. Mr. Chamberlain, if you would, just, if you haven't already, put your information on the sign-in sheet, and just. Is it easier for you to put it on the screen? We can do that. Okay.
Sorry, old school. Does that mic work?
Yeah.
I think it was on.
Yes, Nathan Chamberlain, Fieldstone Land Consultants. Working on the Flatley property out in north end of town here, next to the St. Cobain. I think we were here several months ago for the piece up top. And now we're working on the, I guess, the north end. So this is actually the high bay building, which they had approved in 2012 down here on this lot 6E3-5. This is on 6E3-6. And 6E3-4 wraps all the way around down to here. It's a very odd shaped lot. I'm sure it's all going to get subdivided at some point. But so that the flex buildings are up here, but the remainder of the land comes down here to the river. This is a recently created lot that used to be part of the apartments. The apartments over here on the south end. So this was subdivided off a couple of years ago. So we're over here on lot 6E3-6. And I said, it's the high bay buildings, 120,000 square feet, a warehouse, distribution type building, which they did have approved down here. It's basically the same exact footprint flipped up to the side over here. So this plan really doesn't show a lot. You got to get all the notes, the required notes on the plan, which there's a Green Pro note on there. But again, so this is the driveway down to St. Cobain, and this is the exact same driveway that was approved on the previous project, but it used to swing down into here. Now we're swinging down into here. And basically you have your offices are in the front, parking for the offices up in the front, and then you go around back for the loading zones. A lot of loading docks, loading area in the back. It's a warehouse distribution center. We got some existing conditions, soil plans. And we have zoom in on the site plan with a little more detail. So here we have our, specify the parking spaces, parking widths, aisle widths, curb radii, all that type of thing. Basically a layout plan. We do have our snow storage specified on this sheet. There's a little wetland in the back here. There's a drainage pipe that drains onto the property from Daniel Webster Highway, and it flows down in through here and hits this wetland, and then flows down to the culvert, a culvert that goes under the railroad tracks to the river. So.
How far are you from the wetlands? How far are you from the wetlands?
In terms of what? The
From
pavement? The
Yeah.
development?
Yeah.
Well, here's your setback.
Which one is that? That's what I was trying to figure out. Is that the 25 or the 40 foot?
That is the 25.
I see. Okay.
So, yeah, we're pretty much grading right up to the edge of the setback.
Is that considered actually wetlands, or is that is it a drainage, like a detention pond?
Oh, no,
It's truly wetlands?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it was mapped. It was mapped in 2012 and it was remapped for this project. It's a color print. So here's this wetland again. And it does keep going, but, the mapping, we didn't map onto this is the transmission line easement here. So you can see, we we graded. This is a fill section. It's, the grades kind of undulate through here. So there's like a low area through the center of the building, then it gets high again, then it drops off to the river or to the railroad tracks. So we have St. Gobain's driveway. It sheets onto us, it sheets onto this property. So we're basically set a high point here, and we're bringing the runoff around the building and around the edge of the pavement and to the wetlands where it's currently going. So this there's no impervious flowing into this. It's just basically catching the runoff coming off the hill above us and sweeping it around and mimicking what it's currently doing today. The building itself, it's got several roof drains, and they all drain out to the front here, and they're directed over to this large detention basin. In the back, several catch basins, again, bring it over to this detention basin. So it's all open drainage on the main entrance and on the parking lot too. This all sheets this way into a wide, gentle swale. It brings it down to a catchment area here, which is actually working as a forebay. And then it goes under the driveway and into this big detention basin. And this, the same thing over here, we come around, and then there's a forebay here, and then it goes out and down. And we have this, like a little access drive to get down this hill. And so we're treating the runoff out of the basin at the outfall with a treatment swale. Then here's the culvert I mentioned earlier. The whole area drains to this culvert. And this was pretty much the same way it was done for the previous development. They had a detention basin area in this area too. But obviously, as you know, what's changed since the last development and this development is the PFOA issue from St. Gobain. So the directive here is that we cannot use infiltration, which is unfortunate because the soils are ideal for it. And they had a couple of different infiltration BMPs in that well, actually they only had one. They put the roof into a big infiltration basin, subsurface infiltration basin under the parking on the previous design, and we can't take advantage of that, unfortunately. So this is going to be a lined basin, basically your standard dry detention basin. So you have your 2-year storm, you get a real small orifice, and you control that flow for the 2-year storm to your treatment swale, and you get your treatment in the treatment swale, and then you start letting the larger storms go and maintain your peak rates of discharge. This also is taking runoff for the future development of the land over here. I don't have a real broad overview. It's in the stormwater management report, but basically from this line on, there's a break in the land, and just like before, when this development was approved back in 12, they were allotting for runoff from lot 6, and now we're just reversing it, taking lot 5 into the space, and that's why it's so big. So, and we're using basically what the curve number for industrial land, which is approximately 72%, and that works out to 72% impervious, and that works out to pretty much what that is. So, Flatley is going to be, we're in the process of working on another project with a loop road that comes through here and connects to this road and back out. And then that'll use this land, and then this is, as part of the conditional use permit, this is all slated for commercial. I'm not sure if that's, today's environment, a lot of empty storefronts out there, so I'm not really sure if the commercial land is viable. But they certainly have a lot of demand for the incubator space, which is basically up here. That's what they call it, flex building, so they can break it up and people can get started and then go into a bigger building when they need it. I guess that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
And what is your next step? Do you go back to the planning board?
Yeah, so it's gone out for peer review. We have received comments. I have not seen them. We just got them, so I haven't had a chance to go through them. And we are slated for the planning board. I'm not sure which meeting. I think it's the one coming up in July. This is, the flex buildings were conditionally approved at the last meeting, and then we'll be there for that.
I imagine to as great a degree as possible, any excavated soils will remain
Yes,
on
yeah,
that
all the
property?
soils have to remain on site.
Okay.
Is that in the plans?
Specifically stated, no. I don't believe so. certainly
think
add that
that's
note.
something that we would definitely want to see in the final plans. Just, I don't know what sort of testing's been done on this. We know what forever chemicals are in adjacent properties. We certainly wouldn't want to make contaminated soils from this property.
Sure, no, it's understandable.
Take
This is
this
gonna be-
Merrimack problem and make it someone else's
I
problem we
understand.
wouldn't want.
It's gonna be closely scrutinized at the state when we go for permits there as well. And we've been working with the state ever since this whole thing came to light, for several years now, so. And they're pretty much the ones that push us in this direction as far as the stormwater management.
Yeah, so you've got the similar caveat as the previous project we saw you, the one that was out front, where the water's not gonna be allowed to infiltrate.
Right, so up top here, yeah.
Yeah. Do you all remember that?
Mm.
But in the other case, it was going into Dumpling Brook, I believe.
Yes, yep. Yeah, and we did revise that design after the meeting, because again, the directive from the state was, you don't have to attenuate the peak because you're right on the river. Obviously, you stated concerns about the outfall of Dumpling Brook, so we did revise that design to do basically the same thing, a large detention basin with a small orifice and maintain those peak flows and treat it at the outfall.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, so that little bump down there, that's the Merrimack River, right? The line at the bottom?
Yes.
Yeah, so, and the railroad track is that straight line?
Yep.
Right above it?
On the bottom, yep.
Now, what's that piece of land, right in the middle, kind of to the, yeah, right there?
This is town land.
Oh, cool.
This is town land, I believe, and then this is some other entity.
Huh.
Let's go to the-
Yeah, along with the islands, they're ours.
Doesn't really show up anywhere else. Might show up on the.
So I just checked the planning board schedule. I don't see you for July 6th, so it's possible that you're at the one after July 6th. Should be 2 weeks out.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, what is this lot? 68? 68. Midcoast Ventures, LLC. I don't know why they own it, but.
So you've obviously been here before us a number of times. You're familiar with our requirements for the landscaping?
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
obviously in your proximity to the Merrimack, we're gonna be like no phosphate.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
It's all.
it's in the plan,
Yeah.
no phosphate.
Yeah.
Any other
So,
questions?
I take it there's no floor drains and things like that,
No.
yeah.
Is this space already rented, do you know? Or is it, this is completely,
I don't believe it's rented. They don't have a user, no.
so we don't know if there's gonna be to have a storage, chemical storage, oil storage,
Oh,
anything like
no,
that?
I wouldn't. That's all in the plan, that stuff's not permitted. Whatever is not permitted in the aquifer zone, it's not permitted in the building.
Okay.
I think those notes are on there. A lot of notes.
So this one, because I'm just, again, I expected to get packets, so I didn't really zoom up the plans on my computer, but I did Google Map it. It looks like it's right in front of Society Hill. So you have a lovely view of their tennis court.
Okay.
So you've got that, it looks like they have that in, between them and the river, so
Society Hill is a housing development.
it's condos.
Yeah. Well, this drops off substantially from the road.
Mm,
So we're probably 20 feet below the road. And there is existing trees there.
okay.
At some point, those trees will be gone, but for this project, they won't be.
Yeah.
They've got slated for this area, again, commercial, up top by the road. Like 80, I think it's 80,000 square feet. That's what's on this conditional use permit.
There's also the power line right away between here and Society Hill as well. So there's a good distance.
Yeah, there's a big power line corridor through here. I mean,
Yeah.
they're big towers. But, you know, the Webster Green's on this side.
So the only thing that I really have is the soils, make sure the soils stay on site, which Nathan's already said they will, but we'll just specify. Do we need to be concerned about, what is it, Dumpling Brook? Do we need to put that, the same clause that we put for the last development in? I think it's kind of
No.
far from Dumpling Brook.
No, it's not part of this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so just the one thing?
Yeah, the flows don't go that way.
No.
Anyone else?
Nope.
Thank you, Mr. Chamberlain, for coming.
Those packets are fun to email. I gotta, drainage reports are usually around 25 meg. Gotta shrink them down.
I've got the note here too. I'll talk about community development, about going back to actual packets, especially with maps with this level of detail on them. Thank.
And attachments are gonna have to be sent in multiple emails, because they don't go through everyone's email system.
Did anyone else get it? Able to open it?
I got it in email, but it took a couple of tries to get
It did?
Yeah.
Huh. Let's see. All right, well, that takes us to new business. First item up for new business, I guess the only item we have is a discussion of the Conservation Commission purchasing and storing its own tools. I think, Mike, you had suggested this agenda item?
Yeah.
Want to tell us what your idea was?
All right, so during our meeting, me and Mike B's meeting with town manager Paul and Kyle, we asked them if we could store tools at like one of their lockers. And they said, oh, no, you can't do that. We don't have any room. Of course they did. But they said that we could purchase a shed through Kyle, and they'll put it on one of the properties. And Kyle suggested the middle school because of the amount of people that drive by and the new developments there. There's going to be more people, less likely to be burgled. Now, when I was on the Hudson Conservation Commission, we ended up buying our own tools. We had a more, more space to put it, but got our own tools. We had the training with the fire department for the chainsaw and the PPE and stuff like that. And, from what I understand, we're not supposed to be looking to buy new land. We're supposed to be developing what we have, right? So I think it's appropriate if we have a professional set of tools instead of a bunch of volunteers with mismatched PPE or no PPE at all, underpowered tools. I had Anita Krieger with a mini clippers clipping vines last week at Scar. But I just think it would be, very helpful. Me personally, I have my own chainsaw, but I don't have a place to store it. I store it in my truck. Of course, I take out the gas first, but I can't buy more tools to do the trail maintenance. I have to rely on other people, and it's kind of an inconvenience. So I would like for us to explore purchasing kind of like a basic set of tools, like a general set. That's it.
What, and you said they did this in Hudson, what sort
Yeah.
of total expense?
They went through steel and Rennie Brownrigg did it, I don't know if you guys know him. But, I got out before the tools arrived, it was like $3,000 or $4,000. And it was all steel tools, the professional weed whacker, brush cutter, chainsaw, all the PPE and the helmets. We did the training with the fire department. So, yeah.
Did the town manager or anyone express any concern about people using power tools?
No.
And release and liability and none of that? No?
I'm kind of surprised he didn't.
Yeah, yeah, so am I. I would imagine we would have to require training for the individuals using power tools like that.
That's the logic that we use in Hudson.
Yeah.
How long has Hudson had these tools, do you know?
Like, less than 2 years?
And there's been no problems with theft?
No. It's stored at the Public Works Department.
So it's already in a locked area.
Yeah, but our Public Works doesn't have any room.
I would think that's a substantial risk. If we
Yeah,
had $3,000
I-
worth of steel tools
No.
in a shed that were part of a public minutes and everyone,
Because the only place up for the school that we could do something like that would be over by the classroom. And we're already having vandalism damage there. I mean, there's a big hole in the roof now, and, you know, they're already trying to ruin that.
We could explore putting it right here. Town Hall property.
Yeah, I'm concerned also about storage of fuel and oil.
mm,
You know, that would be, just, you know, I obviously have it in my shed, but I don't, you know, when I spill something, I can clean it up, so.
mm.
Then there's the problem of volunteers paying to maintain the properties, and they shouldn't fuel, weed whacker string, you
Right.
know.
Mhm.
You know, I think it's a good idea. I think if you get pushback from the town manager, you should take your request to the town council, because they oversee the town manager and can redirect him if they would like,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
You know, because of the benefit we're getting from the multiplying effect of having those tools available for our properties and maintaining them, and the free labor and all that, you would think that they would want to support that and maybe provide for a location in a more secure environment than the middle of the woods, which is all that we have available to us,
Mhm.
so.
And a town facility would have
Yeah.
the proper containment for those
Exactly,
tools,
yeah.
proper security.
Yeah,
to-
right.
Yeah, that's my only concern, is where do you put it?
Yeah, I think if the will of the commission is to go forward and you get pushback from the town manager, then go over his head. Right?
Yeah.
They're the people who appoint us. I mean, they're technically our boss, right?
Yeah.
So. In a polite way, of course.
Mhm.
So I think for this meeting, we should just, if we agree to move forward with the idea, we could ask the town manager, ask whoever, if we could have a more secure place. And if we can, then the meeting after we get that, we can talk about what tools we want.
I would be happy to take on this dialogue with the town about what other potential storage areas that we must store.
Yeah.
Lots of power tools, lots of gas power tools at a lot of locations throughout the town. There may not be space in the ones you spoke to him about, but there probably is space in something else. Do you have a connection at Hudson that might, show us what they paid for,
Yeah.
what tools they purchased?
Yeah, I can get the list.
Anyone have any other suggestions
Do
if
you
we
know what
pursue
size-
those?
What size shed they get, you know?
Kyle just said shed, so.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things that we need to do is figure out how much this is gonna cost, because if we're gonna be paying for it, we need to find out, well, what we wanna make a motion for not to exceed, so.
I guess that's what I was thinking, maybe Mike could get from the Conservation Commission in Hudson, if they've already got
Yeah.
a list of what they deemed essential and worthy to pay for.
If I may, I was thinking you might want to put your wish list together and then have the town manager put it out for bid, right?
Yep.
Yeah, put it out for bid.
Well, the other thing too is if we ask the subcommittees, because, you know, very often the subcommittees are out there doing a lot of the work, what would be on their wish list, and then we can kind of look at their wish lists and combine it into our wish list.
Mhm.
So,
So I mean,
because-
there are some items that we've lost with, you know, certain members not
Yes.
being here any longer.
Yes,
That are not small, and certainly not a small price tag. I mean, that groomer, that trail groomer Matt had was a beast and big. And it, you know, you trailered it around. So those are, you know, we just need to think of how deep we wanna go with this, cause it has the potential to be, you know,
Mhm.
10,000 plus to, once you outfit it. And that's also not in a shed, that's gonna be a 10 by 10 shed, that's gonna be something that's got some space in it.
Mhm.
but is that something DPW can do for us if we, you know, ask nicely? No, you give me a look. I mean, okay, never mind.
They're not gonna buy a trail groomer and go groom trails.
No,
won't.
they're not gonna buy a trail groomer, but do they have a trail groomer?
I doubt it. I don't know, but I doubt it.
I mean, do they need something like that for Parks and Rec? No, Tim shook his
I'd be
head.
surprised.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised.
Now, while I'm thinking of it, on our short hike at Horse Hill on Saturday, I forgot his name, Tom or Tim? Tim, other Tim. He asked for some sort of brush cutter or something to cut the invasive thorns, rose bushes, at the trail, right at the very beginning, the straight trail, because they're reaching into the trail and they're thorn bushes, so, you know, he said a biker is gonna catch that and, it's gonna be pretty painful. So, he was wondering if something can be done. Cause there's a lot of them and he doesn't, you know.
It might be worthwhile to look into just invasive treatments too, because most of that stuff, the rows, once you cut that back, you're just trimming it.
Mhm.
And that's gonna grow back in more full and lush, you know, so.
Yeah, I think traditionally he does that, you know, on a yearly basis.
Yeah.
Because I know the area that you're talking about, and I know when I was on the
Yeah.
Horse Hill Subcommittee that he was trying to, you know,
Yeah.
try to contain it. The invasives are just out of control everywhere in town. You know, you drive around and it's just a daunting task.
All right, hear me out, don't laugh. Goats.
Oh.
I tried that
I'd love
before.
Yeah.
Seriously though, I mean, at some point, we might wanna consider, cause goats will eat poison ivy and it's a whole bunch of things they'll eat.
If we can't find a place to keep tools, where are we gonna keep goats?
We're not, you rent them, you rent goats, there are places that will rent you their goats. And they bring the goats in and the goats eat a whole bunch of stuff and the goats are happy and we're happy and the owner's happy and something to consider.
Cheese and milk, all that good stuff comes out too.
Poison ivy.
That's
flavor.
awesome, I love it, but I just, I mean, how do you get them to, do they teach them to eat just invasives?
Oh no, they just eat everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Bark on the trees,
Yeah.
everything.
We can become a goat town,
Well,
goat-based economy.
hey, you laugh, but
No,
I've seen,
I'm not-
I've seen it I mean, even New Hampshire Chronicle did a thing on them.
Yeah.
They're pretty,
They're pretty effective.
yes, absolutely, yeah, yeah,
So you rent a herd and a shepherd,
yeah,
and and we give them an area and say, okay,
yeah.
have at it.
Yep.
Any ideas on the cost?
I don't, I could look into it.
Yeah, that would be awesome, I'd love it. I mean, as an outreach program, think how much, we do, the owl lady comes in, and we've done things like that. We haven't done anything new for a while. That would be a great outreach program with the kids in the school, you know?
You know, because I used to be a zookeeper in Boston, and
You were just full of it, Rich.
no, and the thing is, one of you asked about, would the goats focus on invasive species, or they just eat everything? And of course, they would eat everything, but animals do like certain species more, and I do know that Japanese knotweed, which is a very common invasive species around here, is actually one of the most popular food items for most zoo animals, most ungulates. So that they would actually be drawn to knotweed, probably.
So goats in particular. I don't think a goat is a zoo animal, but,
Well, they were at the zoo.
yeah, well, I'm sure.
And we would
Yeah.
collect tons of knotweed and just give it to them because it served two purposes really.
We've got a great space right over on Babusick Brook. They can just go right there and eat and fertilize everyone's lawn as they're at it. Yeah, I think that's a neat idea. It's fun. I think that would be cool.
I will look into it, but while I'm looking into that, Mike can look into the costs and everything on our wish list, so,
All right.
And I'll pursue town-owned storage space.
perfect.
Or just town-owned space that we can put storage. That's not in the middle of nowhere.
And it has the appropriate secondary containment and spill kits. All right. It brings us to subcommittee updates. Do we want to start with Scholar?
Oh, sure. Yeah, so we decided that it's very difficult for all of us to line up our schedules, so we're using the monthly meetings as just a kind of touch base on what's been accomplished and kind of renew the work list. And throughout the month, as people are available, they'll go and they'll do the things on the list, trail maintenance, stuff like that. Me and Mike B marked all the trails with the blue markers. We're still looking for someone with a router to do the signs. Right now we have little plastic things like this with the name on it. I'm gonna be emailing the Eagle Scout person to see if they wanna do a project for a set of stairs. 'Cause where the two trails meet, it just kind of pretty steep. Steep for me. And we decided we're going to kind of abandon the north trail, the one near the boat ramp and stuff. 'Cause the ruts are just too bad, and it's too much of a hassle, so we're gonna try to block it off as much as we can, let nature retake it, and then down the road, we'll look into it. Look into a trail. Yeah.
When is the next subcommittee meeting scheduled? Or is there one?
I know it, but I don't know it.
Okay.
Did you say monthly meetings? You guys would have, okay, yeah, if you let me know, I'll put it on our calendar. Let me know when they're gonna be, and then I'll add it to our calendar.
All right.
Just make sure you're taking minutes,
Yeah, we have a minute
Yeah.
taker.
right? Provide them to Rhonda or someone just to, even if they're draft.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Mike, for the update. Wildcat Falls?
Wildcat, there was a picture in your packet of the North Loop Bridge that was in need of repair. So Andrew Duane went out and took a look at it and determined that there was, what do you wanna call it, a support beam that needed to be replaced, so he's gonna try to take care of that. So he'll update us and let us know. He did replace the mailbox for the kiosk for the maps. So that is done, and he has been paid. And in another note, Mike Druin discovered that our selfie stands are actually in the woods now, which I did not know. He took a picture of one and he sent it to me and said, "What's this?" I said, "I believe that is our selfie stand at Horse Hill." So I tried to reach, I sent an email to Sarah and I said, "Can you update me?" So I haven't not heard back. Maybe she's on vacation. But at some point, we'll figure out if all of the selfie stands are in there. They are granite. They are not wood. They're
They're what?
granite. We thought they were gonna be
Yeah,
wood.
they're granite.
Yes,
It's kind of interesting.
yeah. Can you send the picture to the Conservation Commission with a copy to Rhonda? And she can
It's
include
kind of
it?
like a granite post
Yeah,
with
she can include it in the minutes
a thing
so that
screwed
we
on
all know
top.
about it.
How stable is that thing?
It's metal. And there's a bolt.
Do you remember, Gina, how many was she gonna put out?
3.
Three.
It
She was gonna
works.
put one at Horse Hill, one at
Apparently
Crater
people
Woods,
use
and
them.
one at Twin Bridge, which I talked to Matt Gasparius, and he said, remember she wanted to take an ATV in,
Mhm.
so, to transport it?
Thank you.
So I guess that's why, we were wondering why she needed it for
Yeah.
the wood, but she was planning on bringing granite in, so.
Oh, wow.
Looks expensive.
Well, she was getting funding for it, so I do think at some point we all need to go out there and get a selfie of us all. With Tim.
Mhm.
Yeah, with
Tim, you
the,
need to be in that selfie too.
the herons are out there. right now.
Yes. That was amazing. I was really sad I didn't make it to that walk. So, all the herons are, Mike took a video of the herons. They were amazing. Mm.
It does look like the library's at Horse Hill as well,
Yeah.
the lending library, in case you didn't know, yeah.
Well, I have some books to put in there, so I will bring some.
Mm. That's everything we had under other business.
I actually had
You had
updates on
something?
Horse Hill.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Oh,
from
sorry, I didn't-
our last meeting. So first thing was, it was our first chance to cover proposed Eagle Scout projects. And really, we just listed off stuff that needed to be improved or could be improved upon at Horse Hills. Any of these could be Eagle Scout projects, they could also just be Conservation Commission projects. The most important thing that they thought, and they wondered if this would be too complicated, too big for Eagle Scouts, was the rebuilding of Bowman Bridge. They said it is a bigger project, but, and they said that if the Eagle Scouts, it would be too big for the Eagle Scouts, then it should still be fixed within a year or within 2 years. So they said that's the most important thing, but it's also the most complicated, so maybe it's not suitable for Eagle Scouts. We weren't sure how intense they planned their projects to be. Another project that would be simpler, although this could also be too simple perhaps, would be adding in new way signs at the intersections of Horse Hill. So that was another idea they put in. That would be wooden way signs that would sort of fit in with the atmosphere of the park. Another idea was rebuilding the Beaver Pond Boardwalk. The boardwalk is currently somewhat unsafe to walk. Feet keep getting caught in spaces between wood, and they just feel that the whole area should be revamped. That's less important than Bowman Bridge, but they still do think it should be rebuilt or revamped. They also had ideas for a nature education area. The sign that overlooks the beaver pond is wearing down. And they also thought of an idea of putting up a sign at the heron nesting area. Sort of an educational plaque, or, well, maybe not plaque, something bigger than that, but a little area talking about herons and their nesting behavior, educational areas. And final idea, I believe, was a tool station for bikers. I don't know exactly what they were talking about, but other parks have put in tool stations where there are these little sections and they have tools like pumps, air pumps, chain levers, and they're all attached to the actual station so they can't be stolen. And they thought about putting them one at the parking lot and another at the central kiosk, with the central kiosk being preferable. Because there are so many bikers in the area right now, they think that a tool station for bikers would be highly appreciated. So that would be 5 ideas that were proposed at the meeting.
Do we think maybe Matt would want to ask NEMBA if they wanted to put the tool station in?
I would certainly think he'd be a good resource to have some ideas about it, yeah.
Do you want me to reach out to him?
Sure.
Okay. All right, if you can just send me an email about everything that they were thinking of for that tool station, because
Okay.
I know next to nothing. I mean, my last bike had like, pink
Yeah.
basket on it, so.
Yeah, I don't know much about them either, but I hear that these tool stations are actually pretty common.
I know the Bike Walk Alliance of New Hampshire could give you information on them. I'm with the New Hampshire Rail Trail Coalition, and some of the local groups have put them in on the more popular trails. What I don't know is what's going to happen in the long run. Everybody's excited to get them in. I do not know what condition they're in after 2 years. Are they subject are they subject to vandalism? But on the trails with heavy use of bikes, we've gotten a lot of good feedback from bicyclists.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was saying, is everyone come up to the commission and asked for support in the woods? Have we had reports of any problems?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
So, other updates. Mike mentioned that Tim mentioned that there is a multifloral rose invasive species problem near the parking lot, and mowing over them doesn't really work because they regrow so quickly. So they did want to check in with the Conservation Commission for more for better removal tactics. Goats maybe.
Salt.
So there's a wetland that goes around most of that parking lot, so we'd have to be aware of that. We pushed that parking lot as close to the wetland as we could while staying within the keep out or the no disturb areas.
Yeah, especially at that path.
Yeah.
When you're walking up the entrance, it's wet on both sides.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, we had to get a permit to put that part in.
yeah.
That whole path all the way to the brook. So,
Which is probably another reason why it grows so plentifully when
Yeah.
you all the water around, It's
yeah.
like, yeah.
Well, that and the excrement that ends up in there.
Right. Oh, that's right, yes.
Yes, the poop loop.
Yes, the
Poop
poop
loop,
loop.
yes.
And finally, because the commission is only down to 4 members, I believe. Well, 5 members, including me. And so we've been looking at ideas of trying to recruit more people onto the subcommittee. And one idea was to put up flyers across Horse Hill Nature Preserve saying, if you want to participate, if you want to volunteer and, help improve the area, email, I think it was Mark Gagnon, his email is on there, my email is on there. And we just wanted to make sure, do we need permission from the Conservation Commission to put up a few flyers around the area?
I would say no.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we were just making sure.
It's not like you're advertising to,
Yeah.
sell something or something. We're trying to get members.
Yeah.
That's pretty germane.
Yeah. And that was it for the meeting that we had on June 8th.
Excellent. Thank you, Eric. Anyone have questions for Eric? Any other subcommittee updates? No? All right, brings us to presentation of the minutes.
Oh, wait, you forgot the recap of me and Mike's, meeting.
Yeah, I didn't have that on my notes. Thank you.
Huh.
We're ready for the recap of you and Mike's meeting.
I wish Mike was here because he's a better talker. All right, so we went there. Kyle showed up. I don't really know who Kyle is, but.
He's the Director of Public Works.
Oh,
What was the purpose of the meeting?
all right. Let me think.
It's the boat ramp, right?
No, oh, parking lot. So we went there, to see if we could get the town to, cut some trees, you know, the turn that goes in there. Very sketchy,
Is this at Scalar?
yeah. So the turn that goes in there, we wanted to kind of, widen the road going in. Cut down some of those trees. They pretty much, said they can't right now. We also talked about paving the parking lot down there. Kyle gave us a rough quote of, well, he actually gave us the quote he came up with like a couple years ago or something.
Is this
Um,
paving down at the very end, or paving at?
Paving the parking lot,
By the
road.
Flying Eagles, or paving the parking lot way down
you know the
end?
dirt road that goes all the way?
Yeah, right,
So the parking lot is like, right when you come out of the tunnel, that dirt area.
right,
and
okay,
there's
so
a
that's right where the
kiosk.
Flying Eagles use their,
Yeah.
okay.
So paving that whole thing, he said it would cost roughly $150,000. And they can't do it unless we can get, permission to have town trucks cross, the, New England Pole Company's land to the north. Which, we're gonna try anyway, because we wanna remove some trees. So you all know what the kiosk looks like, right?
Yeah.
You know that small group of trees right there behind it? That little island of trees, the road kinda goes around it. So we were thinking, remove those trees, remove the stumps, and we can just have the parking area there instead of, cutting into, Sklar. So we were hoping to get, Public Works or whatever they're called, to cut the trees and to kind of use their equipment to push it, put some recycled asphalt or something down there. And they said it's a possibility, but we need permission to get trucks across that property because they can't fit through the tunnel. So,
You can come in from the north, where are they gonna come in from the north?
there's a, I'll show you.
New England Telephone, the Patterson property that's to the
Oh,
north.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that, the road, down by the ramp, that road comes in from the ramp.
Yeah, you see right there? So we basically go
Yeah.
down this road and
Yeah, okay.
cross over right there. So,
Oh, boy.
yeah,
Did he think there was enough clearance where they could pave the bridge that carries the railroad track above the entrance?
under?
Yeah, I mean, if you added pavement to that, there's already a vertical clearance constraint there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't brought up, but I imagine they could, dig deeper and, well, that would create a puddle area too.
I don't know if they dig under that bridge, they may take off the top layer of asphalt, but it's pretty crumbly right now, going down
Yeah.
the hill. But you also wouldn't have to get a truck under the bridge, you'd have to get it down there to the bridge and dump, and then using this roller under the bridge.
Mhm.
So that would fit under there without problem.
And, so we brought up the turn because the neighbors living on Griffin Road are complaining that people are turning around in their driveway. because they're too afraid to make that sharp turn, so they'll go down, turn around, and then go down. And they got kids playing, because it's a dead end, and, you know, it's a real problem for them. I'm sure they'll complain to the town eventually. So, he also talked about the possibility of reconnecting that road, Griffin Road, to DW. So, I have nothing to do with that. So, what else? Yeah, that's it.
Would it make sense to put a sign on the other side for people to just to say Sklar, come in this way? So that you're not, that is a terrible turn. I mean, I'm trying to do it in my minivan and I'm like swinging real wide. I mean, it might make sense for us or the town or someone to put a sign that says Sklar access here, you know?
Would also be nice to have one of those blind driveway mirrors, because if you turn and then someone's on their way up, one of you has to back up. So,
Yeah, the only problem I'm thinking of is that we had a sign for Wildcat. We ended up taking it down because it got too popular.
Oh, right.
So, all right, well, things to think about.
There's no waterfall here.
Yeah.
well,
Well, no, I mean, that was one of the huge attractions. That was
Yeah.
one of the big problems we had. When there's no waterfall, the Merrimack River.
there's a
which is-
beach,
Yeah, oh, I'm not
a
saying.
mud beach,
Yeah,
but.
Mud beach.
It's not much of a beach. It's been quieter though, so that's good.
Sklar's been very busy though, very busy. Like,
With people or trucks?
oh no, there's a lot less off-roading now.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I don't know why. But there's usually at least 3 or 4 vehicles down by the boat launch fishing. I don't know if they're supposed to be parking on the banks, but, you know, as long as they don't cross into the former trail network, you know, I don't have a problem with it. A lot of hikers and joggers, I noticed. I spent the day down there and it's pretty interesting.
No unauthorized ATV use though.
There was a dirt bike that went down very quickly and he saw me and he turned around.
Should put signs saying ATV use and point into the poison ivy.
Get some of those thorns. That'd be a pretty good idea. Just plant thorn bushes through the whole thing. Go ahead, go off-road. Good luck with your paint.
All right.
Any other subcommittee updates? Other items?
There's another thing on there. Oh, you got an old one. So.
The boat launch.
Yeah. So basically, Kyle said the town's not interested in upgrading that boat launch to something much bigger. They talked to the Fish and Game apparently, and you can't fit a decent-sized boat under that tunnel. So Fish and Game wasn't interested in giving any grant, so they went towards Greeley Park. Yeah, so it's just basically not of interest to the town. But I would still like to do something to kind of stop people from getting stuck in the mud when they go down there. There's been at least one case I know of that a guy had to be pulled out of the mud.
Call New Hampshire Fish and Game. No, they come down there. Check is no longer the local rep, but they'll go down there and issue citations.
Oh, no, I don't mean that. I mean, he put his boat in the water and
Oh,
he got stuck in the mud.
I think he's off road. Okay.
So, you know, bury some logs or something, you know. I don't know. Something to catch. I know Hudson has a stack of boat launch concrete slabs they're not using. If you want to reach out to them, we'd still have to have our town trucks go get them.
There's all kinds of permitting to do before you can you can upgrade the boat launch anyways, because the Merrimack's a protected river, so you've got a process to follow, no matter what you decide to do.
Yeah.
So just be aware of that.
And I know when Fish and Game does one, it's a pretty extensive project too.
Yeah.
Isn't it? You gotta make sure your boat launch doesn't wash into the river next spring.
Yeah. And I know the rowing club of Nashua, you guys know what I'm talking about. They have a little dock. A couple of the fishermen down there asked for something like that, some sort of handicap access, because one of them had a wheelchair. And you know it's a bit too muddy for a wheelchair. So he was wondering if he could get something to get him close to the bank so he could fish. That might be a project for us or the Lions Club or whoever.
Yeah, you just have to be careful. That's a huge flood zone, so things wash away every few years. So,
Yeah, that's all.
yeah.
Should we do presentation of the minutes?
We shall do presentation of minutes. I'll make a motion to approve the Merrimack Conservation Commission meeting minutes dated June 7th, 2021, with changes as follows.
Second.
Motion by Gina, second by Cindy.
Okay, I didn't find many things. I have on page 2, line 42, the end of that sentence, I think it should read, "The building is completely tenanted today." Right now it says the building is completed tenanted today. So I was gonna go with completely. On page 3, line 18, catch basins with deep, she's got sums, I would say sump. Also on page 3, line 22, I would say that's complement with an E, COMPLEMENTS. On page 6, line 37, that's Griffin Street. And I actually went back into the minutes to see if Mike had said Griffin Road, and she just wrote down what he said verbatim, but he just said Griffin, so. And I think that is, that's all I have.
The only thing I had was, on page 6, line 42, change HR director to Sharon Hayes. That's who that email had come from. I don't know if Mike spoke to an HR director about the whole naming of the street. I don't remember him saying he would talk to an HR director.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? He would talk to an HR director from the town?
Huh?
No.
Okay.
Are you saying Sharon Haynes, the administrative assistant?
Yeah, that's where the email was from that I referenced. But earlier on that page, which I don't have in front of me, it said that Mike Wavere talked to an HR director.
Oh.
But I couldn't remember. I didn't
Good
get a chance
catch.
to go
Yeah,
back.
that's a good catch. I didn't even notice that.
Our HR director is also named Sharon.
Oh, okay, so
Okay.
maybe that was a confusion.
He might have just said Sharon, though.
Right, because he probably talked to our Sharon too, instead of.
Mm. Okay, so then Director Human Resources, so she was the administrative assistant for, community development, but she has since gone to a different department, which is very, very sad.
Anyone else? All right, we'll vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay,
I'm gonna abstain, I was not here.
4 in favor, all opposed? Motion carries 4-0. To Ellen abstained
I was
also?
yeah.
Okay. I'm still missing one.
I'm abstaining.
Abstain.
I'm abstaining too, I just realized because I wasn't.
All right. 4-0 to 3.
Ooh,
Huh?
close one.
Didn't see that coming.
Well, technically you can vote on it.
Yeah.
It's not like,
It's actually not close.
I'd like to
Yeah.
change
Because
my
it
vote.
only goes yay or nay, the abstains don't matter.
Oh,
Mhm.
right, okay.
That is a great administrative note, though. We talked about this. For those of you who might not have been here last time, we talked about it. Technically, especially if you've watched the proceedings on Merrimack TV, and you feel like you've read through the minutes and want to vote in support or against the minutes as drafted, certainly you're free to do that. Brings us to public comment, and it doesn't appear that anyone's wandered into the room for public comments. So finally, with commissioner comments, I think I'll make a feeble attempt to go first with the commissioner comments. Certainly nothing I could say here in the next minute or the next hours could ever adequately thank Tim for all he's done for this commission and for the town of Merrimack as a whole, because this isn't the only board that he has sat on. But you will be deeply missed, but you've done a fantastic job mentoring us along to try to fill this gaping hole that you'll leave when you ride on. But we wish you the best, Tim, and the commission spearheaded by Gina. I can take it out of the bag? I thought it was a whole presentation. Oh, the bag was a disguise. I didn't know there was a bag inside the bag. So Tim just looked over and thought this was my lunch the whole
That's
time.
it, exactly. Yes. Crumple, crumple, crumple. Yeah. Wow, very cool. Yeah.
We figured that your outdoor adventures are far from over, so we wanted you to be prepared when you're out in the woods, and we hope that you will come and hike with us when you're out and about.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, and I got pictures of all of you on the card.
I'm Rue.
Wow, very cool, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah.
We are gonna miss you so much, and I have your phone number and your email, and I know where you
Yeah.
live.
So I will retain my town email, by the way, because I'm still with the NRPC. I represent the town on the NRPC, so that email will exist, plus all the others that some of you or all of you know anyways. So, yeah, I'm happy to help participate and support at that level, but not as a formal member any longer for the time being, so.
What are
Thank
you gonna
you.
do with your Monday nights? Wow. When's the last time you had Monday night off? Like, every other Monday night?
It'll be different.
It will be different,
Yeah.
yeah, well, we're gonna miss you, we're gonna miss your expertise, so. I'm still working on my, Conservation Commission manual, so at some point I might bounce that off you and let you take a look at that.
Yeah. So, and I still have, and I can talk about it in my comments, still have some things pending, right? So, chapter 111 is still out there, right?
Why don't you go next? The floor is yours.
All right, well, so going with that, as you know, we all And in fact, we discussed it at our last meeting. You know, we were in front of the town council and talked about Chapter 111. In my email conversations with the town manager, decided that I'm going to propose the language and then have legal review versus handing everything to the attorneys and say, now you put the wording together. I'm not sure what is the fastest way to get it done, but I'm taking a stab at it and I'm massaging it a little bit. I will give it to the town manager and let it go to legal. Once we get resolution with legal, then what I'll be doing is asking to get on the agenda, and we'll talk about the outcome and plan for a public hearing. Because per that process we set up, we should have a public hearing. So I'm taking all the inputs. It's just because there's different groups of parcels, some of that language has been a little interesting for me to craft and try to make it as simple as possible and readable and understandable as possible. So, but I'll have that done over the next couple of weeks and then get it off to the attorney so that hopefully sometime later this summer, early fall, we'll pick it back up again and try to make an ordinance out of it sometime by early next year at the latest. So that's that process. The other thing that I had going on was the 28 acres that surrounds the Tomasian development. That land was supposed to be turned over to the Conservation Commission. I run into a legal snag that I have not been able to get through for a number of months now. But so that you're all aware, some of the parcels were transferred to their first owner from the LLC, and they had language in them. I think it's just over half of the parcels had language that granted the property owner, the new owners, a portion of that conservation land versus no language at all, because no one was supposed to get a piece of that open space land that was supposed to be turned over to the Conservation Commission. So half the deeds have the right language, which is no language, because they don't have any share in it, and the other half have language that says they have a share in it. So for transparency, my parcel does not have the language in it, okay? I have no share of that parcel, which is the right way. But the trouble is that the LLC doesn't formally exist any longer because the town let the project come to an end, and it's been difficult. So I've been trying to get the former members of the LLC to try and fix it, but that has not proved out. So I'm going to turn it back to the town, and I'll make the chairman aware of what's going on, and we'll see what goes on here. But it is unfortunate, but it's an open hole, and it, in my mind, needs to get resolved. So I don't think there's any malice with any of this. It's just a matter of, it's going to be some hoops and some deeds that need to be rewritten and all that other good stuff. So that end, and I think that about does it. We did have something that we were handling in non-public, but that's dead. Okay, I'm happy to talk about you offline about that. But that parcel we were looking at is, the owner wanted nothing to do with our offer, so it's dead. So yeah, it's all right. It's no skin off our back. I don't think we're in a bad position. So yeah. So I think that's all that's out there pending. But yeah, no, it's been good. I really have enjoyed my time on the commission and all the new members and all the new interesting ideas and thoughts that come with it. I think we haven't had much turnover, but the bit of turnover we have is all brought in new talents and new things, and I'm looking forward to see where you all go and where Mike goes with what he's doing and all that. I think it'll be fun. Yeah, that's right. So I really do think it's healthy for an organization to have some turnover, and you know, I always will have a piece of conservation land in me anyways. So hopefully we can resolve that legal issue, and then we can get the Fields Farm Subcommittee up and going. That would be great. So, but yeah, thank you. You've all made it worth it. You know, all the enthusiasm and everything that's come. You know, that really helps. So, and you're going to do great. Okay. Thank you.
Eric?
I don't have a comment, but are we all gonna be giving our goodbyes to Tim? Should I like make?
You
my
can do
comment?
it now. Yes.
Okay, sure. So I first saw you on TV about 16 years ago, I think. So you are like, I do consider you, you know, among the Merrimack royalty, because I think you are that high up. And I was thinking like, from what I've experienced, you know, living my life in Merrimack, you know, think of greatest figures in the history of Merrimack. You know, I got Matthew Thornton, number 1, Tim Schaller in the NHL, he's number 2, obviously, and then you, number 3. So those are my comments.
I served with his dad on the Conservation Commission back at one point, so, yeah.
Jean?
Oh, well, that wasn't the first time I saw you, but the time that I decided that I was gonna be on the Conservation Commission, I was kind of torn between the library and the Conservation Commission. I went to a budget committee meeting and I got yelled at by somebody on stage. And this was back when I was going through chemo and I had my stupid looking little hat on, and I went back. Actually, I didn't go back. I was on steroids for the chemo. So I got back up at the mic and never give anybody on steroids a microphone. And I lit into the person on stage. And then I went back and sat down. You very calmly got up and clarified everything and defended me. And I said, Conservation Commission. So that's why I'm here. But thank you for all you've taught me. I feel like I've been able to better contribute because you've always been there to answer questions for me, and you've been very patient. I am not technical, as you know. I still can't get anything on one of those little thumb drive things, so. But I appreciate everything that you did, you know, that I was able to make some sort of contribution because you taught me. So, thank you. And also, will you take us to Fields Farm sometime? Can we do like a field trip? And you'll take us, because I've never been. I was actually gonna get you like a couple more of the little doohickeys for Fields Farm. And I didn't even know how to get into Fields Farm, so.
Yeah. Have to bushwhack.
Okay. We'll wait until tick season's like
Yeah.
not as ticky.
Yeah.
Ellen?
Well, this is a period of watch and learn for me, as I'm new and as an alternate. It has been a pleasure to listen to you. It's been a challenge to keep up, and thank you very much for your willingness to share your experience with all of us, and I hope to benefit from that.
I think this is the second time we've met off of video.
No.
But I always appreciated your knowledge and, you know, love of turtles.
Gage?
No, thank you, Tim. You've been a good friend, and I appreciate your support. Thanks.
Cindy?
Got the funky microphone tonight. Yes, it's very sad to see you go, Tim, but I know you have other things that you are doing to help the town still, so all your service has just been amazing, and I appreciate all the help you've given me and the guidance, and, you know, even willing to explain things offline if, you know, I don't understand it, or, and I feel like we're losing a historical library, you know, like, but if anyone asks a question, you always know, Tim knows. So I'm glad you'll still be around, and I also know where you live, so. And we'll be sure to watch out for Tim's eyes, rather, for that, so thank you.
Anyone else? Yes? All right. Would someone, maybe Ellen, like to make a final motion? Motion to adjourn, second by Gage. All in favor, say aye.
Abstain.
No. All right, that motion carries.
Turn your mic up so I can call you a jackass.
You know, if we never end the meeting,